Deep in the heart of the Australian continent, beneath the sprawling canopy of silver-leaved eucalypts, a faint scent of smoke lingers in the dry air. It is a scent that modern sensibilities often associate with impending catastrophe, a harbinger of devastation and loss. Yet if we listen closely to the whispering rustle of the dry sclerophyll forests, a different narrative begins to emerge from the ashes. This landscape was not born of passive tranquility, nor was it forged by random apocalyptic infernos. It was sculpted over tens of thousands of years by a deliberate and deeply intimate partnership between humanity and the flame. For millennia, Aboriginal Australians did not view fire as an enemy to be feared and suppressed, but as an essential companion, a vital instrument of creation and renewal. Theirs was a world where the spark was a sacred responsibility, an obligation woven into the very fabric of their existence. This profound relationship challenges our contemporary instinct to conquer and control nature, inviting us instead into a paradigm of profound reciprocity. Through the careful application of fire, they shaped an entire continent, transforming what might have been an impenetrable wilderness into a vast, meticulously tended estate. The foundation of this ancient stewardship is found in the practice of firestick farming. This term describes the systematic, highly sophisticated use of low-intensity fires by indigenous peoples to actively manage the landscape. Far from the uncontrolled blazes that dominate modern headlines, these were cool, creeping fires, ignited with absolute precision. The practitioners possessed a granular understanding of their local ecosystems, observing the subtle shifts in wind, humidity, and the life cycles of specific flora before ever striking a spark. They read the land as a living text, and fire was their pen. Timing was everything in this delicate choreography of combustion. A cool burn was typically initiated during the early dry season when the dew was still heavy on the ground and the winds were gentle. The flames would rarely reach higher than a human knee, moving sluggishly through the undergrowth. This gentle heat consumed the dead grass, fallen leaves, and accumulated detritus, effectively clearing the forest floor without ever threatening the vital canopy above. The soil, insulated by the moisture and the low temperature of the fire, remained rich and fertile, its microbial life completely undisturbed. The immediate ecological benefits of this localized burning were profound and multifaceted. As the cool fire passed, it left behind a fine layer of nutrient-dense ash, a natural fertilizer that washed into the soil with the next rains. This gentle disturbance acted as a crucial catalyst for biodiversity. Many native Australian plants are strictly pyrophytic, meaning their seeds are locked within hard, woody capsules that require the specific chemical cues of smoke or the sudden, brief kiss of heat to crack open and germinate. Without the fire stick, these species would simply lie dormant, eventually fading from the ecosystem entirely. Beyond mere germination, the strategic application of flame created a complex, interwoven mosaic of habitats across the terrain. By burning small, irregular patches at different times, Aboriginal land managers ensured that the landscape was never uniform. A freshly burned clearing, rich with tender new green shoots, would sit immediately adjacent to a patch of unburned, dense scrub. This deliberate patchwork provided grazing animals, like kangaroos and wallabies, with abundant, easily accessible food, while simultaneously offering them immediate refuge from predators in the nearby thickets. The human benefits of this intricate system were inextricably linked to the ecological health of the land. Firestick farming made hunting significantly easier, clearing away the impenetrable underbrush and drawing game to the newly sprouting grasses. It also promoted the growth of specific edible and medicinal plants, effectively turning the bush into a sprawling, decentralized garden. The careful tending of cycad groves and yam daisy fields through fire demonstrates a form of agriculture that worked seamlessly within the existing ecological framework rather than attempting to overwrite it. The archaeological record offers compelling evidence of this enduring relationship. Sediment cores extracted from ancient lake beds across Australia reveal a fascinating chronological story written in microscopic layers of charcoal. For tens of thousands of years, these cores show a consistent, steady presence of fine charcoal dust, indicative of frequent, low-intensity fires. This continuous rhythm of gentle burning coincides precisely with the long tenure of indigenous populations, painting a picture of an environment that was deeply and consistently managed. Further corroboration is found in the early, often misunderstood accounts of European explorers and settlers, as they navigated the coastline and ventured inland during the early days of pre-colonial Australia. Many documented a landscape that resembled the manicured parks of English country estates. They noted widely spaced trees, open grassy plains, and an absence of choking undergrowth. What these early observers failed to realize was that they were not gazing upon a natural anomaly or a fortuitous accident of geography. They were looking at the highly cultivated results of ancestral wisdom. The realization that this park-like environment was an engineered reality forces a profound shift in how we perceive human intervention in the natural world. Aboriginal Australians operated as a keystone species, their actions absolutely essential to maintaining the structural integrity and biological diversity of the continent. Their management was not an imposition upon the land, but an integration into its deepest cycles. They understood that to remove fire from the Australian bush was to remove a vital organ from a living entity. Consider the majestic xanthoria, commonly known as the grass tree. This iconic, slow-growing plant is a living testament to the necessity of the flame. While it can survive for decades without burning, its true vitality is unlocked only by fire. A cool burn clears the dead, highly flammable skirts of old foliage, stimulating the plant to produce a towering spike of nectar-rich flowers. These blossoms in turn become a crucial food source for a myriad of birds, insects, and small mammals. The firestick was the key that turned the lock of this intricate ecological mechanism. The echoes of those carefully managed forest gardens still resonate, though they are often obscured by the overgrown reality of the present. The mosaic burning patterns also served a deeply protective function. By consistently reducing the fuel load, these cool fires created natural fire breaks across the landscape. When a lightning strike inevitably ignited a blaze during the fierce heat of the late dry season, the fire would soon encounter a previously burned patch and simply run out of fuel. Catastrophe was preemptively dismantled. This elegant system of preventative care was tragically shattered by the arrival of colonialism. The new inhabitants brought with them a profound fear of fire and an agricultural mindset rooted in the damp, predictable climates of Europe. The traditional, reciprocal relationship with the flame was entirely incomprehensible to them. Aboriginal people were violently displaced from their ancestral lands, and the practice of cultural burning was swiftly criminalized and actively suppressed. The firestick was extinguished, and the land was left to grow wild and untended. The consequences of this abrupt cessation of traditional ecological knowledge were devastating and far-reaching. Without the regular, gentle cleansing of the cool burns, the fuel loads in the forests began to accumulate at an unnatural and alarming rate. Decades of dead wood, highly volatile eucalyptus bark, and dry leaf litter piled up on the forest floor, transforming the landscape into an expansive, ticking time bomb. The delicate mosaic of varied habitats quickly homogenized into a dense, unbroken thicket of highly flammable vegetation. When fires did inevitably ignite in this unmanaged landscape, they were no longer the creeping, nurturing flames of the past. Fueled by massive accumulations of debris and exacerbated by extreme weather, they erupted into catastrophic bushfires. These modern megafires burn with a terrifying, uncontrollable ferocity, reaching temperatures that incinerate the highest forest canopies and bake the soil beneath. Unlike the cool burns that promoted life, these infernos sterilize the earth, destroying the seed bank and wiping out entire populations of native wildlife. There is a deep, lingering melancholy in the modern Australian bush, a silent grief for the loss of its ancient caretakers. The overgrown, choked forests we see today are not a reflection of pristine nature, but a symptom of profound neglect. The land is suffering from a devastating absence of the very element that once sustained it. The catastrophic fires that now dominate the summer months are the violent, chaotic expressions of an ecosystem that has been thrown entirely out of balance. Yet, from the ashes of recent tragedies, a crucial awakening is beginning to take root. Scientists, ecologists, and land managers are increasingly reevaluating ancient fire as a tool for ecological survival. The failures of modern, purely suppressive fire management strategies have become impossible to ignore. There is a growing, undeniable recognition that the path to a sustainable future requires us to look backward, to humbly seek the guidance of those who successfully stewarded this continent for tens of thousands of years. This shift represents far more than a mere change in policy. It is a fundamental realignment of our ecological philosophy. Modern fire authorities are beginning to sit down with Indigenous elders, learning to read the subtle indicators of the land once more. Traditional ecological knowledge is slowly being integrated with contemporary scientific monitoring, creating a hybrid approach to land management. The firestick is being picked up again, not as a weapon of destruction, but as an instrument of healing. The return of cultural burning to specific regions is already yielding miraculous results. Where cool fires have been reintroduced, the suffocating undergrowth is retreating, and the long-dormant seed banks are awakening. Endangered species of flora and fauna, once thought to be vanishing, are beginning to reappear in these newly restored mosaic habitats. The land, recognizing the familiar, gentle touch of its ancestral stewards, is responding with a vibrant resurgence of life. However, the integration of these ancient practices into a modern, highly populated world is not without significant friction. Contemporary society is deeply risk-averse, accustomed to viewing any fire as an immediate threat to property and human life. The idea of intentionally lighting fires, even low-intensity ones, often clashes with entrenched bureaucratic protocols and public anxiety. Overcoming this fear requires a profound paradigm shift, a collective willingness to understand that controlled, intimate engagement with fire is the only true safeguard against catastrophic conflagrations. This tension highlights a broader philosophical revelation about the nature of our relationship with the earth. True sustainability cannot be achieved through passive preservation, by simply locking away tracts of land and hoping for the best. The forgotten wisdom of Aboriginal land management teaches us that human beings are not inherently destructive to nature. When guided by reverence, deep observation, and ancestral knowledge, human intervention can be a profoundly positive, stabilizing force within an ecosystem. The practice of cultural burning forces us to confront our own ecological amnesia. It reminds us that the landscapes we inhabit are not static backdrops, but dynamic, living entities that require active, knowledgeable participation. The ancient practitioners understood that they belong to the land, not the other way around. Their use of fire was a language of care, a continuous dialogue spoken in smoke and ash, ensuring the ongoing health and vitality of their shared home. As we face escalating climate challenges and increasingly volatile environments worldwide, the principles of this ancient system offer a beacon of hope. The lesson extends far beyond the shores of Australia. It is a universal call to rediscover the lost arts of localized reciprocal land management. It challenges us to abandon our adversarial stance toward the natural elements and to seek out the nuanced, cooperative strategies that sustained human populations long before the dawn of the industrial age. Today, when the thin white smoke of a cultural burn rises above the tree line, it carries with it the weight of immense historical memory. It is the visible breath of a landscape being slowly brought back to life. That smoke is a testament to the resilience of a culture that refused to let its knowledge be entirely extinguished, a culture that held on to the spark through the darkest periods of displacement and marginalization. The forgotten wisdom of the firestick continues to smolder, a quiet ember waiting to be fanned into a guiding light. It teaches us that the earth does not merely endure our presence. In its deepest, most ancient rhythms, it actively anticipates our care. If we can learn to listen once more, to read the land with humility and respect, we may yet find our way back to that delicate, necessary balance, tending the global garden with the reverence it has always deserved.